there, my name's Jill Tiny. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me. We all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learnt an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hello and welcome back to Being Human, Hidden Depths with a second conversation with the lovely Mr. Keith Trubshaw. Welcome back, Keith.
Hello, and this time the so-called lovely Keith Trubshaw has a beard, which I didn't have last time.
Oh, I
don't notice
but these things. Yeah.
You didn't even notice.
I used to work with somebody who had a full-on beard for like 20 odd years, and then one day he came in and he'd shaved it off, and everyone was like, "Oh, have you seen Bob?" I'm like, "What? What about Bob?" I didn't see. I look into people's eyes. I don't look around. If people lose 2 stone in weight, I don't spot it. I'm looking in their eyes. So very nice beard, Keith. If you're listening to this podcast and not watching, you're going to have to go onto YouTube to see the effects of the wonderful beard.
Of the wonderfully grey beard, which matches the hair, of course.
So, well, that's why they call you a silver fox, my friend.
Oh yeah, you and everybody else.
The reason for this second conversation, apart from the fact that you and I don't know how to stop talking, and every conversation could be recorded, to be fair. We've just been talking about the Beatles and Stevie Wonder and all sorts of people, but that's not what this is about, your previous musical career. This is about your future career along the lines of some of your business learning that you have had along the way. Now, we get to a certain age in life, don't we? Where we've been there, we've done that, we've got the t-shirt, we've learnt what we did wrong, we learnt how not to do it again, and we go with the flow, and we want to pass some of that wisdom to others. At the same time, we find that we are still learning, because the world don't stop moving, and we have to run and catch up sometimes. So what I love about where you're going with your future is that you are planning to pay it forward and to help other people to experience, not only to help them get from the downs that you've experienced back into the ups that you have experienced along the way. So the seed has been planted. You're in process of the growth. Where did the seed come from? What made you talk about? And what we're talking about here is the lonely seed. So how did you figure in your heart the lonely seed? Let's do this.
Okay, right. Well, you mentioned had bought the t-shirts.
Yeah.
I've got so many t-shirts you can't close the drawer anymore.
Oh,
so I've been around the block a lot of times. The lonely seed came about. I'll take one step back. I've started in business in my very early 20s, but when I was at school, I wanted to be rich and this and that. I never wanted to work for anyone else. And I started my business in my early 20s and made a lot of money and lost a lot of money and made money and lost money. But in 2007, my company went bankrupt. No bones about it. Whose fault was it? Mine. Nobody else's. Just mine.
You can't blame the financial crisis.
No, because it was before the financial crisis. Yeah. I always made money. I am still a counter-cyclical expansionist.
When times are bad. Hang on, that's a t-shirt waiting to happen. So that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I coined this phrase. I am a counter-cyclical expansionist. When times are bad,
expansionist. Okay.
That is the time to expand. For instance, I bought a 20,000 square foot factory with no money down.
Gosh.
For a song because I could, because nobody else, if you like, had the confidence in that time to actually do it. I'm not bragging about that. I'm just saying that's what a counter-cyclical expansionist does.
Right. Yes.
And then when times are good, I lose money. But hey ho. So in 2007, I went bust, and it wasn't a nice experience.
I was just going to say, just paint a picture. Okay. We can say it's not a nice experience, so we can gloss over it. And not many people go bust, to be fair. If they're lucky in life, they won't go bust. Okay. I know what it feels like to have to hand back the keys. How was it for you? What were the feelings that you went through? What were the energy that went through your body? What were sleepless nights, presumably? How did it feel for you to go bust?
The overarching word is shame.
Really?
Yes,
Mm,
and strongly overarching. In as much as I cared, I cared about my staff,
mm.
and I cared about my suppliers because they were friends.
Gosh.
Um, and the the problem had been coming a while, but I likened it to a tidal wave that you know is coming, but you ignore it because it suits you to ignore it. You won't admit, but like an alcoholic won't admit they got a problem.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming, but the day it came, um, it was terrifying,
Mm,
um, because I cared. It wasn't one of those engineered bankruptcies that I'd salted away a lot of money. It left me with nothing.
gosh.
The biggest loser was me. Um, but what distilled it, I guess, was a conversation that I had with my wife a few months later.
Mm,
Because back in 2007, I had to go to the creditors meeting. I think it's optional now.
right.
And I had to face some of my creditors, right?
Gosh.
And it was at the lawyer's, an accountant's office. And my wife said to me as I was starting out, "Are you dreading it?" I said, "Yes, but
Mm,
nowhere near as much as I've dreaded going to work every Monday morning for the last 6 months."
yeah.
Because what happens is when you start to make money, that's wonderful because you go every day to make money. But as
Mm,
you start to build a business, and this will ring a bell with a lot of people who run businesses, as you start to accumulate assets, the balance between making money
mm,
and hanging on to what you've got starts to be tilted. So
yeah.
you spend more and more hours every day hanging on to what you've got rather than concentrating on the exciting things about building your business. And mine just tilted too far. And so it was a tragedy waiting to happen. But
Yeah.
the other thing I would say is that bankruptcy was arguably engineered by me as my only way out.
Oh.
I can see that now. It was my other than jumping off a cliff. It was my only way out, and
Yeah.
that's how that is how people will sell their children rather than lose their business.
Gosh. Yeah.
They've built Frankenstein's monster, if you know, but they don't control Frankenstein's monster. It
It
controls.
owns them. Yeah.
So anyway, that was um, in 2007. No one wants to employ, and I needed a job because I had no money. No one wants to employ in the UK, different in America, but in the UK, no one wants to employ an ex-managing director of a failed business. They don't. Either I know too much for the manager,
Yeah.
being interviewed by a manager, or well, he's a failure. What did we want him for?
Yeah.
So the only jobs I could get was selling on commission.
Oh, tough
Okay.
those days. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it was the only chance I had. So I got a couple of jobs doing it, and I hated it because I was selling stuff I didn't believe in
Ah,
that wasn't good.
yeah.
So I resigned from that.
Right.
And then I got a job selling a very honourable product, and I'm just writing a book about that honourable sales. But
Mm,
this was something I believed in, and I found that I was good at it. And it was a high ticket item pitched to managing directors that what I call, or was what I call, a concept sale.
mm-hmm.
Now, a concept sale is something whereby if I'm selling you a vacuum cleaner, Jill, you know what a vacuum cleaner is. But if I'm selling you a 3D vacuum cleaner that drops in from outer space, I've got to open your mind to the concept first.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I found that I was good at it because I was pitching to managing directors because I understood them.
Mm,
I coined the phrase, "I know what it's like in your chair." What do you mean? It's the lonely seat, isn't it? And now this is a part for the people who are actually watching the video, right?
mm.
And they almost without exception went, "How do you know?" Lean forward. How do you know?
Mm,
You get it. And so that's how the phrase came around. And then Mark Lader, who we both know, he said, "Are you aware of what you're sitting on there? Because everybody's in the lonely seat." And
yeah.
then I wrote the book, um, which is about my journey and about the lessons I learned. And the subtitle of the book is really apt because it says, "Success is a great teacher, failure is a better one."
Mm.
I'm a walking, talking example of that. But it took me a long time to learn those lessons. I didn't necessarily learn them straight away. Mm.
So back in 2007, after you decided you didn't like working for anybody else after that, did you kind of go, well, now I've done that and I've lost the money. Now I know what I could do differently. Could you see where the failure had come from, and would you have done it differently had you known that then? Or is it just a series of circumstances that put you in that losing the business place?
Well, losing the business, what it robs you of. And a friend of mine had a heart attack, and
Oh,
it was the same for him. It robs you of confidence.
yeah.
So it took a good year to get my confidence back.
Mm,
But once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. I couldn't keep working for somebody else. I had to go and
yeah.
test whether I could do it again. So I dabbled in various things. Some were more successful than others. Some I got ripped off with, some I didn't.
Mm,
Um, but always trying to play with a straight bat and be. And it's easy for me to sit here and say that, but I actually mean it. Um, and I guess I stumbled into various other things that had various degrees of success. And I helped other people, and then they turn around and say, "Will you help us do this?" And so I've stumbled directionless for a few years, and I
mm,
made some very good money in certain businesses and lost some very good money. But all of those were learning curves, all of
yeah.
them. It wasn't the big bankruptcy was a big learn, but
Mm,
didn't necessarily heed the lessons until later. And I'll tell you the story if you like.
yeah. Go for it.
The epiphanies that I had that made me okay. There are two. One was I'd established a business, had a partner, and we were doing really well. I'll say the word flying. We was
Mm,
doing really well. And I was going to see a client in Glasgow. And tell me if you don't want me to hear this story because I've told you before, but I was going to see a client in Glasgow. Um, and I was invited, I planned the trip, but I was invited to see or to pitch to another possible client in Liverpool.
right.
I decided to drive to Glasgow, and on the way I'd call in Liverpool. His office was near Lime Street Station, so I parked in he hadn't got a car park, so I parked in a back street
Mhm.
near Lime Street Station. It is Lime Street, isn't it? I think.
I
Anyway,
think so, yeah.
yeah. And as I got out of the car, it was a quiet street. In a doorway, there was a young girl sitting opposite, and she'd be about 25. And she called out in a Liverpool accent, "Have you got any change, mate?"
Mm,
And I said, "I'm sorry, I haven't." And I walked up to the meter, and the change that I had got, I put in the meter.
mm,
And then as I walked back, I remember I had 80 pence left in change. And I crossed over the road and I bent down to speak to her. I didn't want to throw money into a hat or a tin or whatever, because Mother Teresa, and it always sticks with me, Mother Teresa said, make somebody feel they're not alone.
yeah.
Right. So I bent down to speak to her and we're talking. And I said, why are you here? And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, it's a bit quiet, isn't it? You're not going to get very much money here. And you know what she said?
Mm,
She said, I'm ashamed.
yeah.
And a single tear came down her face, this side down here.
Oh, Oliver.
And she was telling the truth, the kid. And
Mm,
all she wanted, she was saving up, she said, all she wanted was some clean underwear.
yeah.
She had no one.
Yeah.
Right. I went on my way. And then that night, I'm in my hotel room in Glasgow. I don't drink, I don't go out at night. I'm just waiting for tomorrow to come so I can have my meeting. And I'm staring at the ceiling, and suddenly it hit me. That's why I'm on this planet. Because that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't. Whether it's in the UK or whether it's in Africa or India or whatever, it
Yeah.
should not happen that people are so alone.
Yeah.
And then from that, and I declared it as my most important meeting. I woke up that day.
Mm,
And then the other epiphany was several fortunes later. I was on my uppers and I stopped I won't give you the full story here, but I stopped in a country lane on my old rusty bike because I couldn't afford petrol for my car. I had coppers in my pocket, not even silver. And there was a potato that had spilt onto the lane. And I looked around and I was ashamed. I'm not ashamed now, but I picked it up because I
yeah.
was ashamed, and that was going to be my dinner.
Yeah.
But as I held this potato, I thought, you've had the airplanes and the yachts, and I have, but they don't mean nothing.
No.
This is humility waiting to happen for you, Keith. And I learned that moment that in your life, if you do that, you can't hold very much. But if you do
Mm.
that and let it flow through, you get a lot more and you give a lot more.
Mm.
So those were my two epiphanies. But from that comes the statement around the world, business people, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, CEOs, with their risk taking or our risk taking, we feed more charity, we feed more people, put more food on tables than
Mm.
all of the charities and NGOs put together. But
Mm.
there are no charities for them, no charities for us.
No.
And I want to create a movement whereby we help each other so that that pebble in the pond can spread out. Who better to change the world than entrepreneurs?
Yeah, and the entrepreneurs don't want charity, but at the same time, or as in they don't need it necessarily. There will be some entrepreneurs that do need some leg up somewhere along the line, but it's that attitude that is infectious. That when you bring these guys together, guys in the generic term, not necessarily men. I'm talking about men, women, whoever have got that entrepreneurial spirit, and you bring them together and they start sparking off of each other and they start coming up with brilliant ideas and they come up with, oh, that's a problem I had, let me help you with that problem that you've got.
Mm.
Then all of a sudden it's a bit like collaboration global, when you bring good people together and lovely
Yeah.
clever things happen by accident rather than design. You don't have to go and force it. You don't have to go, right, I'm going to go sit in a room of entrepreneurs and come up with a good idea. It's
No,
going to happen
yeah,
anyway. You don't have
no,
to twist anybody's arm to be brilliant because they are a certain ilk,
creative.
a certain
Yeah, creative.
species
Yeah, yeah.
that
Well, the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts. And the thing is, I describe it as if I can manage it, and now I will manage it. There's no two ways about it. But I describe it as like a golf club without the golf
yeah.
or speakeasy, because they actually get to chat to somebody who knows what it's like to be
Mm.
non-judgmental and certainly not sycophantic. Because when you employ people, you can't help but surround yourself by sycophants because we've all been employees and we all tell the boss what they want to hear. I
Exactly.
didn't, and I got the sack. So hey ho, I was only 20, but that's fair enough. Um, but the the point is, yeah, if we mentioned endorphins earlier in our conversation,
Mm.
if you let's use the metaphor of a ladder. If you're on the ladder and there is somebody below you, that because you've been there before, you can reach back and give them a hand up,
Mm.
that makes them feel good, releases endorphins.
Mm.
Well, I know this from actual happenings that it releases endorphins in you too. The
Mm.
way you will feel will be on top of the world. The next day, it might be you reaching up the ladder to someone else who's above you.
Yeah.
Same thing. They help you, you feel good, they feel good. But then if you step back and looked at that ladder from the moon, that ladder itself has moved up a rung, for want of a better expression, in as much as everybody's helping everybody else to move forward, to move upwards. And that, again, I'm mixing metaphors, but that pebble that's gone in the pond has now turned into a ripple that's now touching an Indian subcontinent farmer wondering how he's going to feed his family, or it's touching someone on the 80th floor in Wall Street who thinks he's successful, but he's as lonely as heck.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they're all in the lonely seat. And I guess I want to, as I said, I want to launch a newsletter and a magazine and a movement, if you like, that will come out of that. That I don't want it to be, it'll cost money. Of course it will, because that's the way the world goes around. But I don't
Mhm.
want it to make money for me. I want it to make money to be self-sustaining and to make a booming difference. Exactly like Collaboration Global does.
And
That's why we get on, because we're of the
yeah,
same.
that's why we get on so much. So this seed that you've got is um, the potential of where you're going with it is huge.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're creating a movement rather than, oh yeah, I've got this masterclass. I just want to invite everyone along. It's only going to cost them 20 grand each to be part of this special group, which there's a lot of stuff out there like that. And that's not with any altruistic bent on what they're trying to do. They just want to bring a load of CEOs into the room, get them to talk to each other. The magic happens and they go, wow, you're amazing, but you're charging me 20 grand a month to be here. I mean, you're not. talking in those prices yet. I mean, you might do one day. But it is a case of bringing people that feel like they've hit the roof, they've hit the top, and their head is just hitting the roof there. And it's like, well, where do I go now? I thought I'd be happy when I was here. I thought life would be easier when I was here. I thought I'd be able to step off the ladder when I was here.
Which is an illusion.
Exactly. So you're bringing people together to go, I know how you feel. Oh, I've been there. Oh, I want to be where you are.
Yeah.
And just being able to work it out that it doesn't have to be as tough as it currently is, because when you're together, you can, one, go a lot further, two, you're a lot stronger, and three, mentally and emotionally, you can have fun and actually enjoy each other's company.
Restore the joy. I mean, and my LinkedIn profile says man of joy. My wife says man of joy, you're a grumpy so-and-so. But anyway, she knows me. She knows me well. but Copernicus, I'll write about this. Copernicus got into trouble when he declared that here is the news, folks. The sun does not revolve around the earth. The earth revolves around the sun. And happiness is the same. Success and happiness. Success revolves around happiness. Happiness does not revolve around being successful. You get the happiness right, success will come. It will. So anybody that's starting out, for instance, who is striving to be successful, when you pack your bag on the journey, pack two things: joy and humility. Don't lose those.
Yeah.
And if you pack those, you've got a great chance of succeeding. But otherwise, there's a dark shadow that's going to stalk you for the whole of your journey. That tidal wave I was talking about. And one day you'll think, is this all there is?
Yeah.
And the lonely seat's about stopping you having to think, is this all there is? Because you know, and I know, and hopefully people who listen to this podcast will know too, or learn, that it ain't about the money you make. It's about the contribution. Okay, it's a cliche, but it's so true. That's why it's a cliche. You know, it's the way you will feel when you start realizing that you're on this earth and you've got a God-given opportunity and responsibility to actually make a difference to the people who can't yet make a difference for themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you teach them to fish, you'll feed them for a lifetime. That syndrome. Yeah. And there is so much room. And there's a challenge. I don't know how long this podcast is, but I got a challenge. I got a challenge for you. And you know I write these poems every day and this and the other. But
yeah.
The challenge is this, or to all of the listeners. What do you, and I'm going to use the word he, although it's generic, it could be she. What do you want written on your gravestone? He made a lot of money, or he made a difference.
Exactly.
Here endeth Keith's sermon.
And I think we all acknowledge that. And I think the world is changing in as much as people are realizing that what makes me happy? They're asking themselves these questions. What brings me joy? What am I here for? What's my purpose in life? And I think the amount of people that are still possibly chasing the dollar are slowly waking up to the fact that this is not going to be giving you the solution of a happy life. Now, yes, money will give you choices, and yes, money can give you access to things that you didn't think you could have. But sitting on a yacht, no matter how many billions it's cost you, if you've got no friends, if you've got no purpose left, it's like, oh, is this it? And again, you're sitting in a lonely seat. And the worst thing in the world, which is the problem of our world today, is being lonely. We are so many people stuck on our own, working really, really hard. Now, whether you've got a team around you or whether you've got 100 staff or 1,000 members of staff, if you're sitting at the top, you're going to feel isolated. There will be no one that you can turn to. As you say, they're going to be, not necessarily, but usually sycophants who want to keep their job and they just want to make you happy. And it's like, well, no, there's got to be more to life. And if it isn't giving back, and if it isn't helping others, even by something as simple as going over and having a conversation with someone, the 80 pence was useful, but it wasn't powerful. The conversation would have been powerful for that poor woman.
But governments and politicians won't change things. They won't.
Mm,
It's up to us to change things. They won't because they rely on short-term votes,
yeah,
and they rely on short-term votes from the, I'll use the Roman term, the proletariat,
yeah,
the uneducated. And I don't mean that in a derisory word, because people are spoon-fed what the press and nowadays what YouTube, etc., wants them to see.
yeah,
And you see tragedies unfold all the time that are caused, frankly, caused by people wanting to hang on to the power. And that's the only people who can change that is us.
yeah. And you can't blame them, but we've got to create. I think Buckminster Fuller said it. If you want to um, change anything, you don't change the current paradigm. You have to create a whole new
Yes.
paradigm in order to start something new that
Yeah.
will be even better than what was before. But you can't. You can't. Was it make a sow's a silk purse out of a sow's ear?
Yeah.
So we can't change what's going on, but we have to find a new way of being. And I think by taking radical responsibility for yourself as an individual and learning who you are as a person and why you're here on this planet and how to maximize your capacity, then that will make a difference to many, many more people. And that's how we can make a better world for each of us.
Can I rephrase that slightly in my way? Just,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
if I do some work with youngsters in
Mm,
school and in youth centre, um, and I've done a bit of work in prisons, and the essence is, if you go to prison, the first thing you'll notice is what have they got when they come out? The answer is nothing. So they're
yeah,
going to go back in again.
yeah.
So if we can teach people, whether it's youngsters or adults, if we can teach them that it's okay to believe in yourself,
Mhm.
confidence, just teach, look, it's okay, and it's okay if you fail.
Mm.
Mr. Failure, it is, it's okay. One of my friends said to me, he said, I said, oh, I'm too good at losing it. He said, no, Keith, you're too good at giving it away. Good thing, but with a different slant. But the
Subtle.
thing is, if we can teach, our generation has messed up. We have. No, not even maybe. But if we can teach kids to believe in themselves and not to take at face value all the BS that's fed them,
Mm,
then there's a chance that they can turn around
mm.
the mess that we made. We live in hope.
And we still have to be responsible for where we're going. We've got another 30, 40 years to go. So,
Well, you might have.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. I've 106, I've decided.
Well,
I'm gonna choose when I go. And I said 106. That's a
I'm greedier than that then, because I said to I was in the car the other day, and I worked it out, and I got home and I said to my wife, do you know, I need to live to do everything I want to do in my life. I need to live till about 130.
oh,
So,
okay.
oh well,
Well, I
you
think
know,
Abraham was about 628, wasn't it? So you
one
never
of them, yeah. And then you learn to ride a horse or something. The
What's your vision for the future for the lonely seats?
lonely seat.
This name
Okay,
that's out there. How does that going to manifest? Do you think?
I would like it to be a movement for change. I don't want to be the big chairman, if you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I want it to be a movement whereby I want it to be loose, whereby almost we did when I had a little group of companies. We started putting on the letterheads a lonely seat company. I want it
Hmm.
to be a way of doing business that if you carry that logo, and I'm not saying people should, but if you carry that logo, people know that you're not just there to make a profit, you're there to make a difference.
That's nice.
So, that would be nice if people said, can I carry that logo, the Lonely Seat logo? And Lonely Seat is a negative term.
Mm,
It is. And so it takes a certain amount of bravery to admit that you're lonely, but like being an alcoholic, as I said earlier. But there's no better way of describing what it's like to be a CEO.
yeah.
Um, it's it is necessarily lonely because the book has to stop somewhere. I've never understood that term. Is it book or puck? I have to be careful what we say
I
here.
think it's
The
uh,
book stops here, or is it the puck?
the buck. I think
Yeah,
BUCK.
I need to look that up because
Yeah.
often I write it and often I say it, but I'm not entirely sure I'm right.
I think
So
it's to do with dollars and money, and in
yeah,
other words, I have to pay out.
yeah,
So the buck
yeah.
stops here. So if it's going to cost me money, I want to know about it. I'm assuming that. Look it up and let me know. But I'm curious. That's what I've
It might
always
be an ice
assumed it
hockey
to
term
be.
for the goalkeeper, but when you get when you take to that seat, the boss's chair,
Yeah.
you can teach accountancy or architecture, or I say the plumbing and plastering. You can't teach what it's like. Nothing can teach you what you're going to find when you sit in the boss's chair. The day you have that seat, before you had it, if you had a problem, you could turn around and say, "Boss, can you help me?"
Mm.
You kick a problem upstairs. Now
Mm.
you're the upstairs.
You
It's
are the upstairs. Yeah.
you. You have to be the one that deals with it, nobody else. I'll give you an example of, when you asked me what it was like when going bust.
Mm.
I used to get home because obviously the world and his mother were chasing me for personal liabilities and this and the other. I used to get home and be dismayed at the post.
Yeah.
It accumulated, I didn't open it, and it had grown, and I'm not exaggerating, 10 inches high.
Gosh. That's
And in the end, I've plucked up the courage and opened it. It was never nearly as bad. But
no.
when you say to people who are up against it, yeah, have you opened your post? The number of times I say, I know what you mean, because they're
Mm.
scared to open it.
Mm.
Every envelope
Yeah. That
is
is that
poison
brought back
chest.
that's brought back memories for me for our first business
There you go. It
that
does,
we
doesn't
had
it? You're
problems, and it was
scared
like,
to open the post.
especially if it was from a solicitor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And now you see you're stronger because you've been through it. So if someone is listening to this and they are in that dilemma, just reach out
Mm.
because I'm not saying that I can open it for you and say, oh, yeah, here's the money to deal with it, but I can help you reframe it.
Yeah.
Why? Because I've been there,
Yeah.
and 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 it's who was it that said I've had lots of worries in my life, they never turned out to be as bad as I thought. Somebody did anyway.
Yeah.
It's easy to sit here and say that when
Yes.
you're in fear, or in immense stress, the ability to take sensible decisions and, more importantly, perhaps to be creative, jumps right out of the window.
Mm.
That's
It's
what
the
I'm saying.
same when your mental health is suffering, isn't it? If you keep it to yourself, it's just this rock that's going to grow
Yeah,
harder and harder inside you. But if you actually say to someone, I'm suffering, then you've shared your problem, and all of a sudden, part of that rock has just disappeared and moved on, and someone else can go, oh, I've been through that. Oh, that was awful. Yeah, I know exactly how you feel. And just by sharing, half of the burden is gone. And I think what you're trying to do when you've just offered to, I'll have a chat if you're in that seat. But if you get 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 people together in a room, not necessarily going, oh, I'm just about to go bankrupt. That's not necessary. But even people that are really successful go, I have been bankrupt. And this is where I've come to as a result. It gives you hope for the future, but also people that really understand what you're going through in that space. Say you've just been promoted and you are now the CEO or the CFO or the CTO, whatever C suite you happen to be part of, and you are scared, then this would be a great place just to spend an hour or 2 hours once a month with other people that are as high up,
yeah,
as above the clouds as you might feel right now. And they'll be able to put your feet back on the ground so you feel solid and in control. And confidence is such a big part of it. And
it is.
knowing you've got a kind of a secret network of people that you can turn to go, what do I do with this? It just gives you that confidence to go in every day
It does.
with that smile on your face without having that rock in your heart that goes, I can't do this. I'm an
Exactly.
imposter. Everyone gets imposter syndrome at some point, and it's
Two
horrible.
things. Two things that you've just mentioned, right? I'll come back to rock in your heart in a minute,
Yeah.
okay? Because that's a big one, okay? But the other one is you said about a problem shared.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe a problem shared is a problem halved. A problem shared can be a problem reassessed
Yes.
or reframed.
Yeah.
That's because that's the way it normally works. Because a problem shared is just a problem dwelt on sometimes, right? However, when you mention rock in your heart, have you ever had a stone in your shoe?
Mm.
Huge, isn't it? Huge. But when you
Right.
take your shoe off and shake it out, you can't even see it.
Yes, true.
And so that reappraisal, I write about this as well. That reappraisal is such that then you see it for what it is, what it really is,
Yeah.
and you
True.
see it, and having a chat with someone who has been there, bought the t-shirt, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
lets you reappraise that stone in your shoe and see it as a tiny fragment that, whilst it might have been important in the place where it was at, when you set it somewhere else, then
Mm.
you can deal with it. And maybe that's getting a bit deep, I don't know, but But
No,
that, that's
it's
the
what I was
expression I
talking
use.
about today in LinkedIn. It's the context. This context is very important around how we see ourselves and how we see our business and how we see our future. Um, yeah, for sure, for sure.
For sure, for sure.
So on that note, if somebody is hearing this and going, "Oh, they're talking about me,"
Mm.
even if you don't want to admit it yet, but it feels like there's something in your heart that you want to talk about, what's the easiest way for people to get hold of you, Keith?
Right. Well, I want to add one more thing to what you said. Or if they would like to be someone who they think could help somebody, if you're
Yes.
saying let's put a bank together of people who are willing, not like Samaritans, they're far more
Yeah.
serious than I'm talking
Yeah.
about. You know, there are worse things that can happen to people than the business fail.
Yeah.
But so whether you want to sort of help or get involved, or if you feel totally confidential, no mention of names, etc., etc., just you'll find me at keith@thelonelyseat.com. That's it, keith@thelonelyseat.com. And I'll always give you a call. If I can't help, I can't help. But sometimes I've been known to make a difference with a bit of luck. And look, it's not just altruistic because it makes me feel good as well. So don't think that you'll be usurping my bank of goodwill, because you won't, because it'll make me feel good too.
That's called a
We all like
win.
helping people, we do.
Yeah.
So all in all, or of course you can always call Jill because she can help you as well. So.
Indeed. Indeed.
Join Collaboration Global, then you learn a lot. By the way, folks, I love it here. They're lovely people. They're lovely people.
Thank you. I wasn't even twisting your arm for that one.
I
Thank
know
you
you weren't. I know you weren't. I'll send you the video.
Also, I would recommend go find Keith Trubshaw on LinkedIn because he has some amazing poetry around this whole subject. And you kind of listen to it, and sometimes it's like a minute, 2 minutes, and it just kind of brightens your day. And it kind of makes you go, "Oh yeah, I didn't see it like that."
Yeah.
Beautiful quotes from famous people in the world and some not so famous people, but also the poem that goes with it makes you go, "Yeah, yeah, I can now do that. I'm stronger."
Cool. Now there's a thought. Now there's a thought.
That's it. Now there's a thought. And again, that should be on a t-shirt. Let's put that get that on your next one, next
Yeah.
time we have a podcast.
I
And
got no
again,
room in the drawer.
oh, yeah, I forgot. And don't forget, everybody, if you want to meet Keith online, he's usually at one of our Collaboration Global sessions. You can find that on Eventbrite, just look for Collaboration Global, or you can come to the website collaborationglobal.org and you can book on through that as well. And obviously, both of us can be found on LinkedIn too. More than happy to chat and help you. If you're feeling a little bit desperate or a bit ready to give back and help other people who your experience might help them, then get in touch with Keith and let's start a collection of really good people who can help each other. Because as you know, I believe in collaboration, and when good people come together for whatever banner you choose, you can make a big difference in this world. So I'm fully behind Keith on this movement of the lonely seat and wish you every good success. Thank you so much, Keith, for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
We'll do it again sometime. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye.